Today I'm doing a Marth guide because I hit 1,000 followers on Twitch, and so this is kind of going to be my rundown of how to play the character and kind of the tips and kind of how he functions differently to Lucina at the same time, just because they do get a lot of comparisons. Obviously, they play similarly but also different at the same time. They obviously have two different functions. One's good in certain situations and the other one may not be. So I'll kind of just give you the rundown of what Marth does. Okay, so first is his playstyle. And Marcina, or at least Marth at least. So Marth kind of plays a bit more defensive. In kind of other Smash games, you could kind of just enforce yourself with your fast aerials and throw out hitboxes to deter people from kind of invading your space. But in this game, like, kind of overwhelm them, because you have, like, since you have the sword, you have the disjoint, you can kind of just outplay people and mix it up with your cross-ups and stuff. But unfortunately, it's not like this in this game. He can't do it as well. Like, even though from Smash Ultimate's engine, because it is faster and there's less landing lag on things, it does help with him, like, using spacing areas. Things are just safer, but that means other people are just as safe. And that means there are times where Marth can't really do anything, or he can't really position himself properly to hit people without getting punished. So there's also the kind of playstyle of what I call it the bubble playstyle, where you basically, each move of Marth has a certain range, right? So if I do F tilt or down tilt, they each cover a certain space. And all your moves kind of do this, just because you have the giant sword. A lot of characters have this, but especially because of Marth, you kind of want to be keeping people either at max distance or kind of showing them the ranges that you like to play at and how to make them feel uncomfortable when you're slowly moving in. Especially because dashing is such a commitment in this game, and Marth kind of, because he's standing and he kind of like puts his head forward, he kind of pushes his hurt box in front of himself, like extends it basically. And this is a good thing, obviously, because sometimes you can just dash under things, because he kind of like, he turns into like an old man and arches his spine like 90 degrees. But the problem is with that sometimes you just don't have enough time to just run, like sometimes you just run into things accidentally. The other thing with the bubble playstyle also is you need to be able to figure out what moves covers these spaces when you know your opponent's going to be coming at you. Sometimes, especially say against like rushdown characters, you have your ground options, which are obviously like down to F tilt. That, okay, if I know they're going to be in a certain space, what move is going to be tipped if they come at me, or even if it's going to be able to stuff it out. So whether that be, say, a fast character like Falcon, who likes a lot of dashing and stuff, maybe you'll be using your down tilt because he's going to be in that space a bit quicker. But then say if it's like, if it's a character like Mario, who's going to be doing a lot more jumping, and rather than just dashing in, it's with a lot more aerials. It's going to be a lot more covering with F tilt, or like fair, and little things like that. So first of all, let's go through his moves. Let's go with Jab. Jab is frame 5. Which is probably, it's his fastest. He's got a couple of moves that are frame 5, but it's his fastest ground option. Obviously, he's got the Sour and Tipper. It's really your fastest get off me, without trying to overcommit with like other frame 5 moves that you do have, which I think you really only have one other from the top of my head. Tipper Jab can be like spaced on shield, is kind of safe, but Jab in general, like doing the second hit of Jab, yeah, you get 13, which is nice. But sometimes on certain spaces, especially against certain characters, you will actually only get, like, you get the tipper one, and then the other one might not even tipper. So that time it did. Sometimes you also, depending on the space, you won't. Also characters as well. Some characters, like some of the big heavy characters, I would say, sometimes they just I can't say fall out, but even if you get tipper, because they're just so big, and Jab's hitbox doesn't really cover a crazy amount of space. It doesn't really confirm into anything. It's just basically it can even just be good to like check shields, especially if people are like over shielding, or like they're expecting other options. So in other games, especially like in Smash 4, you could try and like say if somebody's shielding, you could like jab and like down tilt to see the timing of when they're gonna drop shield, or like you can even like jab, and if they're overcommit, you can try and cover their option afterwards. So you could be like jab, wait, and then say if they jump out of shield, you can forward air them, or if they roll, you can just go for a dash grab. There's little things like that. Next we got forward tilt. Forward tilt, probably Marth's one of Marth's best grounded options. A lot of Marth's grounded options are very good. But it's frame 8. Tipper, insanely good at killing. It kills at the ledge around like 90 to 100 on like medium lightweight characters. Let's push on the ledge. Yeah, so see, about 90%. It's really good at calling out jumps, using it as an anti-air. Especially Marth's really good at with such a defensive playstyle that if people are just jumping at you, you can just walk F tilt, dash back F tilt, pivot cancel F tilt, which is really good as a burst option. It is a little bit slower, just like slower than the normal version, obviously because you have to take into account of the slide. But if you do the sliding F tilt, sometimes it can catch people off guard when, let's say, they're getting juggled, or they're just casually trying to ford a ledge, and you do your boost F tilt, your pivot cancel F tilt, and it kills them ridiculously early. Especially with rage, a tipper F tilt with rage is insanely good. Next we got up tilt, which is frame 6, which is very good. Up tilt for me is the move that is, it's good when it works, but when it doesn't work, it is atrocious. Up tilt, it's a very good combo starter. It does about, I think it's about 7 sour, but tipper is like, how much is tipper? Can't even get tipper. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, 10. It's about 10. Which tipper up tilt is really good, but the up tilt's probably one of your main combo starters, and it's really good at juggling, especially because it's so fast and it covers such a wide arc above and like around Marth. The only problem I find with this move is that the back hit. So in other Smash games, the back hit was actually a lot more lenient. This game, because he kind of edges forward a little bit when he does up tilt, he kind of can sometimes just miss opponents, even when they're like directly inside him. Like they have to be directly inside rather than be like, say if Lucien is here, this is gonna miss. Where, because he just arches forward just a little bit, we're like, oh, okay, I can catch this, and it's like, nope. But really good. Walking, when people are getting juggled, walking and doing this move is really good. That's what I recommend. If you guys are playing Marth, I do recommend doing tilt stick. It is just easier to do it on reaction. Up tilt kills on the ground, I think about 135-ish, I think. Okay, that might have been overkill. 130. Whoop. Nah, yeah, about 135, I would say. Next is down tilt, and down tilt is frame 7. It's a very good move. Very little end lag. Sets up for tech chases. The tipper hitbox sets up for techs at like earlier percents, obviously. And Marth gets a lot of tech chases. Both Marth and Cena do. Like even if you get sour spot, it's still very good because sometimes you do want the sour spot because you can do like sour spot down tilt to grab, even though it doesn't show up as a counter, obviously because grabs don't count. But say if you don't want the tech and you're just like, okay, it's like such a good get off me, and it has such little end lag. It kind of just calls out people's grounded options, people dashing into you. And it also hits ledge, which is very nice as well. It can deter people from stalling on ledge. And especially against characters like this, they say like Spaceys or something that sometimes like have a very linear recovery. It can be very good to just send them back off stage in like an easier ledge guardable position. So that's always very nice. Dash tech, probably one of Marth's worst moves. Honest to God, it's probably one of Marth's worst moves. Frame 13, it is so slow. For Marth moves on the ground, it is very slow. But it does kill, like it kills pretty, like at the ledge, it'll kill about, I think it's about 90%, hold on, let me see. But that is not 90, 89 is not 90. No, okay. So it's weaker than F tilt, that's for something. But it's good at it's good at, like, obviously there's no DI, but it's obviously, it does reach over the ledge a lot, so if you do catch people, same with pivot cancel F tilt, if you do catch people kind of sleeping, trying to retreat to ledge or try and, like, drop below the ledge safely, this move will extend over it, and it does, especially because people are drifting back normally, it can kill insanely early. The problem with this move also, other than it being slow, is that if you hit solid dash attack, it is very unsafe at low percent. Like, let's go 10. So, like, it is, like, it doesn't, like, they can hit you in time. They can probably, a lot of people, most characters can, okay, it tripped. But a lot of characters can just hit you for hitting this sour dash attack. And because you can't really confirm into it, like, you can probably, like, that's not true. So, like, maybe if I get, like, yeah. So, see, like, I don't have enough time to even confirm off, like, into it. Which, if you could confirm into it, maybe it would be a better, but it's not very. It's a very niche move, but like it is. The one good thing about it is because it is a bit faster than. So pivot cancel F2, if I remember, is like technically about frame 14 to 15 because you have to wait for the little skid animation. But dash attack is obviously like frame 13, so there's a couple more frames obviously on pivot cancel. So kind of just take that as you will. Forward smash, which is probably his other big factor, X factor that he has. F tilt obviously, and like dancing blade, which we'll move on to later. Or we'll get to touch on it later. But S smash does about, I think it's like, yeah, 15, depending on which part of the sword you hit. The closer you get to the tipper, the more damage it will do. But if you do get tipper, it does like, it has obviously insane knockback. And it also has like obviously insane kill power, damage. It's the thing that is really good. It is frame 10, but it's frame 10 from the top. So where you see he can kind of arch his sword back, that's where the sword actually kind of starts the active frames basically. That's the frame 10. And I think it's only active for about, I think it's 3 frames. Yeah, active from frames 10 to 13. So it's active for about, 4 frames. Which, isn't bad. It is tied for the fastest smash attack in the game with Darks, like with Sams's and the Pits. Cena and Marth, if people don't know, they do obviously have Shield Breaker as well, which we'll touch on later. But their Shield Break setups, Marth's is more accustomed to, or it's his strongest one to kill, like the earliest, is his F smash, which with Lucina, it's actually it's actually Shield Breaker, just because it has more knockback growth. But since in Smash Ultimate you can kind of charge smash attacks for longer, Marth can kill like at like around 20%. So it on like certain characters, so it can be like really really good, and that's kind of Marth's X factor, biggest X factor. When you should break somebody about 20-30% and they just explode. You push on the ledge and you just fully charge F smash and they just die. So F smash really good. There's no confirms. You can kind of confirm into it of down air, and that's really it. That's and there one. That's all you got. You don't really have any other ways to confirm into it, but that's the move. That's the move that makes money and makes people cry at the same time, because you don't get the tipper sometimes, and sometimes you do. Up smash is frame 13. It's not obviously frame 13 out of shield isn't too bad. It's good because it will kill. Like, it's one of those things, like, it's always nice to have an option out of shield that will kill. And it scoops from the speed. So that's always really nice. Especially because that means if somebody crosses up your shield, that means you can kind of hit them from, regardless. It will kill a bit later out of shield than Lucina's, just because obviously Marth still has the tipper mechanic on his up smash. And that means, the tip is very strong when he hits it, but the problem is, how's he gonna land it? It doesn't. Some stages it does tipper on the platforms, but it's not a lot. And sometimes it can be character dependent as well, depending on, let's say, how they tech, or like their tech animation, or just on like, I think it's like how they stand as well. Sometimes it just looks completely worse, which is a bit weird. It's also good for, so say when you're ledge trapping, if you know somebody's gonna roll and you react to the roll, you can just up smash it on reaction, which is really good. Just because roll is probably the most reactable, just because they go into like an everybody goes into a ball basically, except for like maybe Bowser. He goes into like his shell when they do the roll animation. So that's always really good. It will kill about like 100 and I think it's about 120, 130. Let's get the percent there. Yeah. I can try and get it lower, but I'm pretty sure it kills about this percent on FD, which is okay. Maybe early. Maybe I'm stupid. Yeah. Okay. So about 115, 120, which obviously give or take depending on the character and the fall speed and stuff. But you know, it's probably one of his most consistent kill options, which obviously, you know, is very good considering you're not hitting a tipper. Like that's very nice to have as an option. Down smash is frame 6. Which is very good. But the problem is, obviously, it swipes both sides. And the move did get buffed, I think, in 7.0. And now the front hits stronger, which is nice. But the problem is with this move is that it has a lot of end lag. But it is fast. It's very good for, like, tech chases. And I think it kills about... Well, tipper will kill about here, I think. Well, if I can walk forward a bit more. No, okay. Maybe let me push it a ledge, it should kill it. Yeah. It's about 90, 80 at the ledge, I think. Thing is, obviously, if you do, say, for whatever reason, if you do shield break somebody, and you don't, for whatever reason, want to stale your forward smash, you can do back hit a down smash, which will kill earlier. Which will kill earlier than the front hit. The problem is with down smash, yeah, it just has too much lag if you do miss it. It does cover both sides, which is nice, so that means it can cover rolls. But it's like one of those moves that it's like, it's good, but it has some, like, with its uses, but like, you can't just be throwing it out just because there's too much end lag, and it's not one of those moves you can really space with either. And you don't really, it's like, it's the thing of like, why would you use down smash to thwart approaches when you have down tilt, which is so much more safer, even though it's slightly slower. It's just less committal, and it has just a whole bunch more utility, I would say. Frame 6 neutral air, which, you know, you think it's like, damn, frame 6 neutral air, that means it's a frame 9, which is frame 9 out of shield, right? Which is, you know, nice. That's frame 9 out of shield that, which can kill. Tipper Nair kills can kill very early. Tipper Nair 2, I would say, to be more exact. Like, it's very strong. Problem is sometimes that, like with the move, certain hitboxes of the Nair won't confirm to the second hit. Even if I hit them with Tipper Nair 1, it won't hit them into Tipper Nair 2. So even like, say there, like I hit her with Tipper Nair 1, but Tipper Nair 2 just didn't confirm, even though it was around like the same spacing. But it is pretty good out of shield, especially if characters are on the taller side. It is a good get off me. It can be a combo tool at low percent as well on Rising. The problem is on Rising, it is very unsafe. So like you can do like grab, you can do other things like that. Yeah, it confirms to a lot of like Rising there confirms to a lot of things, but it is very unsafe on shield. But it is good to be spaced on shield like as like a falling aerial. And obviously you do have the Nair 1 confirms that around about, I think it's like past 50-60%, that's when they start like efficiently working, where you can confirm it into like F smash, back air, forward air. Like it's kind of the utility kill confirm, you could say. Forward air, also frame 6, very, very good. Covers a very big arc in front of him. Oops, that is not forward air. Sour forward air confirms into other things at low percent, like Dancing Blade, down tilt, F tilt, but it's one of your best spacing tools if you're wanting to drift back. Kind of going into the opponent, it can be it's a lot more committal, obviously, but it can be crossed up on shield, which is really nice. And it's very good at kind of just calling people out for jumping, which in Smash Ultimate, because it is very aerial based, or people like jumping because it keeps them mobile without while landing kind of a bit safely, I would say. So it's very good at that. And then next we have back air. Back air is one of Marth's prime kill moves off stage, or just calling out jumps. Problem is with this move, sometimes you can do it rising on, like, say, smaller characters and it'll completely whiff. Just because the hitbox of the back air, even though the animation is showing, like, say it starts from, like, the bottom, the part of the bottom actually isn't a hitbox yet. So you can just whiff on characters like Pikachu, Olimar, Kirby. So it can be a bit risky, but it is still a very good move. It kills very early, especially with rage. And another property of the move is that when you do a back air off stage, or do a back air in general, it will turn you around. So basically anything you do afterwards, you'll be facing in the direction that you just did your back air. And that means, like, you can do forward air, back air, which combos sometimes, they say sour back air into forward air. You can also just use it, just like run off stage, jump, like do a raw back air, and then like you'll already be facing, like, facing with your back forward, like you'll be facing forward off stage, so be careful, a bit more careful. But what I see some people do, or like, I do see some people do this, I don't do it too much, but is they run off back air, so then now you've automatically got your back turned to them when you're already running, and you keep your momentum when you're running off stage, which is really good. Up air is a pretty interesting move. Frame 5 is as fast as aerial, which is very, very good. You can do it out of shield. That means it'd be frame 8 out of shield, which is very good. And it does hit some small characters upon rising. Like, this can hit, if I'm close enough, it can hit Lucina rising. If you do get Tipper, obviously it is very good. But if you get Southpaw, you probably can get hit just because it does have a bit of end lag when you land. Another property about this move is that there's actually a missing hit. Like, Marth, it feels like with some of Marth's moves, there's just missing hitboxes. So I would do like moves like this where the sword is still out, but like Lucina doesn't get hit just because there's no hitbox there. I'd have to hit a bit higher on the sword, and that basically means that, so say if you're used to Chroma Roy for whatever reason, or say you were Chroma Roy, or you're used to playing them, and you go for a falling up air, kind of like, that's a good way for them to create pressure, just because it is very safe. Marth doesn't have that luxury, sadly, and he just has to cop it. But the good thing about it is that, say, if somebody's shielding and you do a tipper up air on their shield, it is basically safe. Like, it's very hard to punish it. I think it's like -4, yeah, -4, -3. If you land it on the shield. So that basically means only like Game & Watch up B, Mario up B, Samus up B is going to be able to punish it. Which is, you know, as a spacing tool, like, especially when people expect jump-ins. So say they know you've been running at them and jumping into their face, especially say with like Fair or like Falling Nair. Up is kind of like the mixer where even if you're close enough, sometimes you can still get that tipper and be very safe. Now we got down air, which is it's frame 9, I think. So I think it is faster than what it was in Smash 4, I think. But it's frame 9. It has a decent amount of end lag. It's not the best landing tool. It's one of your only landing tools, because Marth really doesn't have too many mix-ups from landing. But if you do land a down air, like a tipper. Oh, I didn't even check the percent. But say it is probably your second way to like get an early kill, get a kill confirm. Obviously, you get tipper down smash, or like the spike hitbox. You can down air S smash. You can down air up smash, depending on their DI. You down air back air, down air forward air, down air up tilt, down air forward tilt. It's kind of like just like Nair 1. It kind of is like your universal kill confirm. But good thing is that you can, if people do hit your shield very unsafely, say like Game & Watch dash attacks you, you can kind of do a down air at a shield, even if, say, it doesn't tip up, it covers such a wide arc, or say somebody crosses you up, it covers such a wide arc around you that even if you don't spike them, it sends them at such a far away distance, or like sends them at such an angle where they're away, and so you don't usually get punished too hard if you hit it at least. If you do miss it, you are in a lot of end lag. Like, Marth doesn't really have a lot of like leeway, I would say, when he does this move. It has a lot less end lag than it did in a lot of other games, but you'll see a lot, like even like Lucina probably won't be fishing for it as much, but Marth will probably be going for this around like about 40 to like 70%, even earlier sometimes with Rage, because they know this is one of the earliest ways to kill with, say, tipper forward smash, which is a big part of their kit. Yeah, and obviously it does have a spike as well. Let's get Lucina off stage. So like it spikes on frame 11. It's only it kind of like how with Dark Pit spike, it only spikes on one frame, which is kind of just about directly below him. For Marth specials, he's got Shield Breaker, which is just his neutral B. It's frame 19, and it kind of ledges him forward a little bit, and that kind of makes it his longest reaching move. And obviously it has a tipper mechanic as well, and which can kill, even like the uncharged version can kill at like high percents. But the good thing obviously about this move is that obviously, as the name implies, it breaks shields, which is probably one of Marth's like biggest ways to make a comeback. Obviously, like fully charged shield breaker is very, very strong, and since you can angle it, sometimes you can catch people in the air running at you, or catching smaller characters as well, so like there's not too much threat there. The down angled version can also catch people on ledge if they have their head kind of poking up a little bit, but I wouldn't recommend. I see some people use it, but do it like that, but I wouldn't highly recommend it. It's just a bit unsafe. It's a bit more obvious with what type of option you're covering, and it really only covers one option. So just be careful when you're angling it downwards. He does have other better ways to hit the ledge, and it is a bit committed. It does have a decent amount of end lag, like because he kind of has to put the sword out there, retract it, and be like, oh, I gotta put it close to me again. But it is one of his. It is a good move. But obviously, if you do see people over shielding, that is your best way to kind of break that shield, kind of force them to stop shielding. Even presenting the option kind of makes people play differently. Next, we got Dancing Blade. Okay, this is probably going to be one of the longer parts of the video. Dancing Blade, probably Marth's, like the most distinguishing factor from Marth and Lucina. Obviously there's the tipper mechanic, but the one thing about Marth and Lucina, the difference is that the one contributing factor that makes Marth, say, edge over Lucina in this, in their kit, would be Dancing Blade. If Lucina also had Marth's Dancing Blade, it would be very, very ridiculous for how early she could kill people with this move. So Dancing Blade, obviously, 4 hits, kind of simple, but depending on how you hold it is the variation you're going to get. And a small fact also is that each part of Dancing Blade has a different scaling. So the first hit has a different scaling module to the second hit, and then it goes on to each hit. But obviously, if I do downwards 3, it still has the same scaling as the third hit, forward 3 or up 3. We'll go the easiest one, which is downwards variation, which is usually used for most amount of damage, about 24 or whatever. It will do a little bit more if you are able to somehow get the tipper of the fourth hit of the multi hit of the 4. If you can get some sort of tipper hit from it, but it is one of your best ways to just rack up damage, kind of just send them at that downwards angle. Obviously, if somebody's shielding, it can be good just to like say it won't break their shield, but it just poke their shield if they don't have their shield isn't full. Which is always nice, especially because Dancing Blade has a lot of end lag. Like I was buffering shield that whole time, and Martha was just like, I'm just chilling, holding my blade out again, and I just like, okay, I'm gonna look flashy, right? Like I don't know how much end lag a normal person has when they're dancing, but I'm pretty sure it's not as long as Marth. Up version has, obviously the second hit also can be done upwards if I'm not stupid. There we go. Which obviously the colors kind of dictate which direction the person's holding, and so with up version, if I do it right, wait, let me lower the percent, that might be easier. Okay. So up obviously has a tipper and a non-tipper version. So that, funnily enough, the tipper version has less knockback than the normal version. So, and you can kind of hear it by just like the little sound it kind of gives off as well. With the tipper version, it means that they can't, since they get sent at that lower angle, but they have a little bit more hit stun. You can kind of get a bit more setups from it. Like, it's good for juggling, obviously. So that one, they kind of get sent too far away from us to kind of get a follow-up or anything. So you kind of just like, okay, hopefully they're just in juggle from that, and I can kind of catch their landing, or if they use their double jump, I can try and air-to-air them. But with the tipper up version, so since they have more hit stun, and since they have, since they get sent at a lower angle, sometimes if they're not really pressing anything, you can get other moves out in time before they can really press a button. So with the forward hit of Dancing Blade, this is like the killing one, and this basically means this is the one you probably want to do the most. And since it sends them off stage, it's probably the one you want to it sets up for the most pressure situations, I would say. Obviously, it gets them on ledge, since it gets them off stage for a ledge guard. It kind of does everything. It does everything you need. It's probably the safest one in terms of if you don't know, if you're already hitting them and you don't know what situation you want. It's probably the one like, oh, well, I want them, like, at least if I get them away from me, it gets me a better positioning, basically. With Dancing Blade, the properties of Dancing Blade is that you control the timing and kind of the spacing of the move. Obviously, that's a bit obvious, but there's been so many questions about, oh, how, like, when people get hit by Dancing Blade, or like tipper Dancing Blade especially, they're like, oh, how do I DI this move? I'm like, oh, can I get out of that? And a lot of the time, I say a lot of the time, every time I say no. And it's because kind of like how Pikachu up air functions is that it doesn't send you into tumble. The move doesn't send you into tumble. You kind of just in that weird hit stun animation where you're like, ow, I just got hit. Like, if somebody like punched you on the side of the arm and you're like, like, why'd you do that? It's basically kind of like that. It's like they hit so soft to the point where it's like you got hit, but you're still questioning why you got hit. So you don't have time to actually do anything. So you can't do out the move until the last hit, basically. And that basically means it's all up to the Marth player or the Lucina player. They're playing Lucina because it kind of works with them too. Whether they get the tipper or not. It's not like Smash 4 Marth where you had a guaranteed way to get tipper Dancing Blade for, which was the Leo Blade, which is forward, down, forward, down, forward, which would always get tipper. But in this game, it doesn't really have that, and it's not like Roy in this game, which if he does forward, up, forward, there's it's like almost guaranteed to get like the hilt. What Marth has to do is he kind of has to recognize the space where he gets his Dancing Blade and what part of Dancing Blade he hit them with, which is the first one. Since you control where, if you get tip or not, basically, you have to just time the hits. But that can be like, oh, what do you mean time the hits? So obviously you can stall the timing of each hit to a certain degree, to the point where it can get to like an unshoot point. So some characters will be able to shield in time if you delay your hits too long, or you can just mash it. But the move itself, you gotta have to recognize, say, the spacing where you are from your opponent. That's how I would do it, or that's how I do it, I say. So if I'm too far away, I would have to be mashing it, basically. Just because the move would send, if I delay it, they would be sent too far forward to hit them with the tipper. Okay, so with that, basically, because I was too far away and I stalled it for too long, I can't get the fourth hit. But say if I'm too close and I stall it, it's a bit easier. Okay, I was too close that time. There are spaces, basically point blank is where you can never get tipper. That's like another hint. People trying to get tipper, Dancing Blade 4 forward, and they're trying to get tipper, it just doesn't work. It never connects. Even for how long you delay it, it will never connect, or it will be untrue, basically. And that means they probably could have mashed air dodge, probably could have jumped out in time, but they just chose not to. They just accepted their fate. So say if I'm about here, I'm probably still gonna have to delay it a decent amount. Oops, fine. So the move's insanely strong for when you do get tipper. Like that killed at 70% and I wasn't even at the ledge. But then say if I'm too far away, kind of like here, I'm gonna have to mash it. That wasn't tipper. Yeah. So say if I'm not, kind of I guess the takeaway is if you're too far away or you think you're too far away, you're probably gonna have to mash it to try and even confirm the move or just get the tipper. But if you're kind of like mid-range or like kind of like close quarters but not like point blank, then you're probably still gonna have to delay it to a certain degree. And if you are too close to them, you will never get tipper. There's no way in hell you're getting tipper. You can try and change it up that way. You can try and do the down angled one to try and get it to bring them closer. But unfortunately, it's a lot harder to kind of confirm the tipper, regardless of how, like, if you're just way too close. Then we got Dolphin Slash. Dolphin Slash, obviously, which is their up B, which is their recovery. It goes decently far, decently horizontal, decently vertical. The move goes decently vertical, not very horizontal. You can obviously move a little bit. And the move does have a decent amount of magnet hands. Yeah, so like he has a decent amount of magnet hands, so that basically means you can kind of be a bit more lenient with your recovery. You have magnet hands from the side, but not from below. So just be a bit careful when you are recovering. But the move starts frame 5. On frame 5, he's invincible. But apart from that, there's nowhere else on the ground. But in the air, he's invincible from frame 1 to 5 when he does it. So it's a good combo breaker if people like say like juggling you, or like if you're in a string basically, and you're just like, get me out of here. Like one of the characters I say it's pretty good on using, obviously when mixing it up, obviously, is Ken and Ryu. Obviously some of these strings are very frame tight, and some of them aren't true at all. So sometimes if they overcommit or are going for the combo, just going for the up B to kind of be like, hey, I have this option that you have to respect. And you can't always go for these big strings, basically means that you have a way, they have to be more hesitant with, do I finish my combo, do I wait out for this up B that may potentially come? And it kind of just keeps them second guessing, which is very, very good. You can also use it to ledge guard as well. Obviously you can use it just because it's so quick, you can kind of use it to stage spike. And we got down B, which is obviously his counter, which is frame 6, which is, you know, ain't no Arsene counter, ain't no Tetrakan, but it's still a counter nevertheless. It's a decently strong counter. Say if somebody's mashing on you, that's when counter can become a huge asset, because it can slow their gameplay down and make it a lot easier for you to kind of crack down their neutral, or kind of just like, or even better, if they still continue to mash on you, you're just like, well, I have counter, so you're gonna take the damage and I'm not. Counter's obviously very good for hitting recoveries with a hitbox as well, and it can also kind of just like, say against projectile characters, considering Marth doesn't have a projectile himself, this is another mix-up I have to stop you throwing your projectile. I can't even say stop throwing it, but to be wary of running in on you. Because say if it's like a character like Pikachu, if you counter their T-Jolt and they're running into, like, say dash attack you, then the counter will just stuff them out straight away, which is very, very good. But obviously it's one of those moves that you can't spam, obviously, because it has a very big amount of end lag. Grab and throws very quickly. He's got a frame 6 grab, obviously he's got like a universal frame 6 grab, which is very nice. He's got down throw combos, which is, you know, down throw sets up for combos, which is very good. At low, like about like, I would say between like 0 and about 0 and 50. But I'm pretty, yeah, okay. Down throw up. Yeah, from down throw you can get up air or back air, which it is true. It doesn't show on the combo count for some weird reason. I'm like buffering it and it's not showing. It's true they don't have enough time to actually air dodge out, or jump. I just don't know why it's not showing up on the counter. Maybe I'm being bad at the game, but basically, that's his probably like out of throws is the one that you probably want to be doing at low percent the most. Forward throw, good for positioning. Obviously, if you want them off stage and in the forward direction, obviously back throw same. It can set up attacks, but you know, obviously if you miss an attack at low percent, then it's your own fault. And up throw is a kill throw. I say in inverted commas because it's not really a kill throw. Which, if you want to know how to DI the move, just do DI behind him. It's not, the throw isn't super DIable anyway, but it helps a little bit, basically. And even if you DI out, it's the thing of, if you DI the move even a little bit to the left and right, it's better than not DIing at all, or up and down. Yeah, it's very lackluster kill throw, and it's kind of his last resort to kind of kill. Marth's combos, like I said before, he's got his down throw up air, he's got down throw back air. If they DI behind him, if I do it right, whoops. Why is it not full hopping? Which, it doesn't show up on the combo counter, but it can be true, I would say. And the problem with Marth is, he doesn't have, and this goes for Lucina as well, that he doesn't have a lot of combos. He has a lot of strings, and that basically means that a lot of the time you're either catching them for how they DI, or like them not pressing a button. But the sad thing about Marth is that there's a lot of times, this is probably my pet peeve with the character right now, is that there's a lot of times where your sour spot strings just slightly don't confirm into like the finishing blow, which basically means like you'll hit your thing and it won't be true. So there have been times where I will hit them with, like I say, sour up tilt into sour up air, fast fall into a platform F smash, and the sour spot of up air is just slightly not enough to like the hit stun of it is slightly not enough to confirm into the F smash. And that basically means they jump out or they air dodge, and that basically means Marth does not get to hit them. And a lot of the time that means you're in lag, because a lot of the time, because you aren't 100% sure if they are going to just get hit by the string or they're going to jump out. Then you're like, okay, hopefully, it's the thing, hopefully this is guaranteed to be true. And because just Marth doesn't do enough damage, or there isn't enough hit stun on his sour spots, then they just basically either fall out, or they are able to swing out, or just move away in time before you can actually do anything, which is super unfortunate because his strings and combos look very, very flashy in comparison to Lucina. A tip for, I guess, strings and combos with the character, because like his combos are like, you know, forward air, south forward into dancing blade, he's got south forward into grab, he's got rising there to another rising there to a fair, which, you know, is a good amount of damage, and he's obviously got an up tilt. Like, he's just very like, his combos are kind of like the same with Lucina, but you kind of have to just standardize them, I would say. But his strings, so I guess this is the big thing in comparison to Lucina, is that his strings are longer and can do more damage. I don't know if I can like 100% say there's a standard way to string with the character, but it's basically off of you being able to react to the positioning of your opponent and recognize which move, or like understand which move will most likely connect with where they are, and you just have to kind of like, I can't say hope, but think about the amount of hits on they'll also be in. So that's why the character is more complicated than Lucina. You have a bit more stuff to think about, apart from just hitting the tipper, is also thinking about whether your string is going to be a true string, or is it just going to be a 50-50 situation of whether they get out of it or not. So next we'll move on to the game plan of the character. So Marth, obviously, like I said before, he focuses on keeping the opponent out, about mid-range, which is about here. You know, this is kind of the range where Marth loves to play at, where he is able to hit you and you're not able to hit him. and this means like prime tipper range, which is very lovely. That means you're going to be safe a lot of the time. A lot of characters can't really contest him at this perfect range. Either that they don't have moves that reach him, or the moves that are fast enough are like, or the buttons that do reach him aren't as quick as his. So that means he's usually getting his move out faster to hit you. With Marth, it's also how do you position yourself to get to that perfect spacing, I would say. Which is, with Marth, it's going to be a lot of walking. Marth, Cena has the best walk in the game. I think the only other walk that's like close enough to them, I think it's either Palutena or a Fox. Basically, have all your options to you when you're walking. Rather than when you're running, you have a certain amount of frames when you can't shield or you can't really act properly. Even though you can do attacks and stuff out of tilt, so you still, let's say for shielding or defensive options especially, you have a certain amount of frames where you can't where you kind of lag for a little bit. It's only about 36 frames if I remember, but that's still enough frames for somebody to like say throw a projectile at you or like even swat you out before you even get to the space that you want to. So walking is your best way to kind of move to those positions, and it's a lot easier to maneuver because his run speed, you know, Marth's run is still very good, but his walking is like one of his best traits. His walking is almost as fast as his run. Like, that's insane. Okay, so with Marth's ledge trapping, you want to be standing at roll distance all of the time. Maybe against some characters you might want to be standing, you can be a bit closer to the ledge, but apart from that, you'd want to be standing around roll distance the most, just because you're being less committal. Your sword attacks do cover the spaces that a lot of characters do get up at. Whether that be if they do neutral get up, you can cover it with down tilt, cover it with forward tilt, you can cover it with F smash if you're fast enough. But obviously neutral get up does have one frame of like vulnerability, so that means with F smash it can be hard time just because it's only active for a couple frames, and it has obviously a decent amount of end lag, so you can get punished even when it's tipped or max range. Basically, you can still get punished. If they do roll, you can cover with up smash, you can cover with up B if you're feeling ballsy, your up tilt as well, but that roll's obviously the most reactable one, so you do have a lot more time to kind of just choose which one you want to do. And if they jump, obviously you got the forward air, you got back air if you're fast up with the turnaround, F tilt, you can cover the jump too. Nair is another good option. Obviously if you do get the tip in air, it can confirm and just kill. And if you're fast, if you're good at timing certain options, you can try and catch them out with Dancing Blade. It is very risky, obviously, because Dancing Blade does have a lot of end lag, but it is, like, Marth's ledge trapping can be very safe, but it can also be, like, he can also throw some huge risks in there as well to kind of get that early kill. This is probably one of Marth's strongest points just in his game plan, or in his like overall playstyle, is that his ledge trapping is insane, very safe, very non-committal if he wants to, and like he even can hit like ledge hangs very well. So say if Lucina is on ledge, so down tilt can hit ledge, down smash can also hit ledge, forward smash can hit ledge too. So say somebody re-grabs, you can F smash them almost 100% of the time. There's some characters I think can avoid it. I think it's really only like Ganondorf and like Sephiroth I think that can avoid it. So with Marth, obviously he's a very good edge guard. He's a very strong edge guarder just because of his floatiness, which means he can kind of just slowly maneuver towards the opponent and kind of drift into them and threaten. And obviously if you double jump, you can drift back as well with your edge guarding. And the good thing also is that since you are throwing out a disjoint, when you are ledge guarding, even if it trades, it's very minimal risk. Like you won't even get, sometimes you just don't, your move will just win. Because let's say if it's like Mario or something, and he tries to throw out a forward air, and you have your back air out, and the move will just beat it out because it's his fist against your sword. Problem with how Marth ledge guards, I guess, is like the one flaw, is that once you've used your jump, you need to be able to, you're having to retreat basically if you've used your jump, just because that's your best way, that's your only way to burst your momentum back to the stage. If you don't have jump, and I've jumped out here, I have to be like, okay, I have to be like, there's no way. But if you are feeling bored, like, you have to be slightly drifting back at least to try and make it back to stage, especially because his recovery is very vertical based. Final touches, I would say, of the character. I do think Marth is underrated in terms of where people have been putting him on the tier list. People put him like low tier, like, you know, bottom 20 on the game. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, character that has basically the same kit as Lucina, same stats, but the properties of his moves are just different in terms of his the tipper mechanic. I can't really see that being like a bottom 20 character where Lucina's potentially a top tier or higher or top of high tier character, where and Marth just falls so below to the point where he's like considered trash basically. I do think Marth isn't that great. Sadly, I do think he's about mid tier. Because of his lack of consistency in terms of killing and his functionality. Like, if his hitbox is represented, like if the sword swings represented his hitboxes, maybe it'd be better. But it's still to the point where things just don't function. Like, it feels like he's only a couple touches away from being very good. Like, only like small tweaks, I would say. He wouldn't even need like huge buffs or anything like that. He just needs some small tweaks to kind of push himself back into like a high tier character. But for now, I do think he is mid tier. Anyway, Marth as a whole is very solid, I would say. He's not like so good to the point where he can be played anywhere, but he's not so crap that you can't play him anywhere. So would I recommend people to play Marth? I would say yes and no. I think he's a character that definitely could get reworked or like buffed in the future. So there probably is merit to putting time and effort into him. But I don't know if I would say to main him currently, just because if you're looking to get results or to get better at the game, I don't know if he functions as that character. I feel like you would be probably better off learning Lucina and learning the character that way, and then say when Marth does get buffed to a stronger point or a more usable, viable point, maybe you could switch over and pick up the character, and maybe you'll see you enjoy the character more to the point where he's actually usable. But for now, I do sadly think he isn't tournament viable, I would say. You could cause it upsets every so often, but just with the consistency, I honestly think that he just lacks just a bit of that oomph that a lot of the high tiers and top tiers have. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this guide. It's probably going to be long. Sorry about that. Obviously I do know a lot about the character, and hopefully I explained it enough. This is obviously my first guide. So I'm not going to be the best at explaining. Hopefully I'll get better. Say if I do make more guides about other characters. I do play a lot more other characters too. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this maybe gave you a bit more insight into how the character functions, how the character plays. Maybe you get better at versing Marthena in general off of this, or even you just kind of get interested in starting to play the character a little bit. Honestly, for now, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hit that like button below if you enjoyed, or if you just guys want to just support the channel, subscribe. Really means a lot, and hopefully I'll just upload more content similar to this, or even different videos. But thank you so much, and catch you later. Peace out.